Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're gonna take a look at 10 Pokemon that are one move update away from being meta. Most of them at least. Some of them are just going to be like side grades or like in general upgrades that I would like to see, so you're going to see it as well here. But if you enjoy this type of content, I know that I did this already last season. A lot of people like this one. Feel free to leave a like on the video and we can move on immediately. Also subscribe of course, but let's move on to the first one. First Pokemon, we're going to have Infernape. Infernape is a fire and fighting type Pokemon. They're currently knowing the move Fire Spin, cause combat as well as Blast Burn. Fairly squishy, same typing as Blaziken, same typing as Ember, but what this Pokemon can do, and you could also say I guess the same about Ember if you want to use Ember instead, which has a little bit more bulk, but I like Infernape a little bit more. You could just give this Pokemon Incinerate, because you already have Blaziken, which has access to Counter, which kind of has its own niche with it, so giving it Counter here wouldn't really make any sense in my opinion. But if you give it Incinerate, the win rate is going to be increasing by quite a bit, like plus 6 wins there as well. But honestly, this Pokemon has a little bit of a better way of playing if you have it as a closer. Like if you have a 1-2-0 shield scenario, for example, if you're just going to be able to farm down a grass type, a steel type, whatever, with Incinerate, because what wants to come in against close combat as well as Blast Burn? Like there's next to no Pokemon other than maybe a Azumarill or whatever, but you're even going to be able to win in the 2-shield scenario with Incinerate against Lantern, which is kind of wild, or Poliwrath, which kind of showcases what kind of potential Infernape would have with Incinerate. Again, you most likely could argue about Ember as well as an alternative. Let's take a look at the second Pokemon. Here we're going to have the Araquanid, which we're going to try to add the move Lunge as a charge move. I thought about giving this Pokemon Bubble, because Bubble got recently buffed as well. But if you give it Bubble plus Lunge, it would be overkill. If you just give it Bubble, it's just a side grade. Like Bubble will help in some certain matchups, for sure. But in general, it had like a worse average rating and like worse win rate as the Bug Bite, so then we want to put it in here. So let's take a look at Lunge, which is actually Bubble and Lunge was on the moveset which Araquanid had before it got released. Like they changed just before the release basically. And as you can take a look at this one here, it would be really strong, getting basically plus 22 average rating and would make this Pokemon way better. Let's take a look at the next Pokemon. Here we're going to have the Obstagoon. Obstagoon is a dark and normal type Pokemon, but the only normal type move it really learns is going to be the Hyper Beam, which is not bad in general. And this Pokemon is kind of decent as well, but like it really fell off the meta. Like nobody's using Obstagoon anymore in either Great or Ultra League. You barely see it like sometimes, like once in a while. But what we actually can do here is we can give this Pokemon Body Slam. Body Slam would make a lot of sense for this because it's a dark and normal type. So you're gonna give it a cheaper normal type stab while you already have bait moves with Cross Chop, Night Slash. So you're not going to have a crazy benefit from it. It's still going to be the better move to go for in a lot of scenarios and going to climb up the rankings a little bit more here as well. And I feel like it would be a very neutral Pokemon that a lot of people would like to play. So Night Slash still has an option there, but you can even argue that you go over Night Slash and just say, okay, I'm going to run counter Body Slam as well as Gang Shot, for example. But again, like this Pokemon would really appreciate Body Slam. Feel like this would make a lot of sense as well. It has some decent wins against Gligar, Wishcast, the Lantern or the Victreebel with this one as well then. So has a lot of potential. Would like to see Body Slam on the Obstagoon as well. Would not really make this Pokemon toe broken, but I feel like it would go back into the meta with this move update. This is the Pokemon that I would like the most, I would say. There's a different one that's going to be later on as well, which most likely going to be in the thumbnail as well then. But this one is one of the ones that I really want the most. Arcanine with Incinerate. Arcanine currently struggles with a fast move. It would learn Snarl, it would learn Fire Fang basically. That's what he kind of would want to run on it right now. But it would also learn Incinerate. And if we take a look at the charge moves, you have Psychic Fangs, debuffing the opponent's defense, plus being insanely cheap, plus being reliable because it's always going to do it, plus giving you coverage against Pokemon like the Poliwrath. But also, if you want to have some more coverage against Poliwrath, you're going to have Wild Charge, which is going to be a very hard-hitting charge move as well. And this Pokemon is squishy. Fire type is generally a pretty bad type for Pokemon Go, not for Pokemon in general. But as you're going to see here right now, going up from 427 to 572 overall rating there, and it's not as good as it actually been shown here, because here for PvPoke, it was a lot of times that you're going to be able to go for the bait with the Psychic Fangs, get the debuff onto the defense, and then go for Wild Charge, which of course going to knock them out then, but still Incinerate would be like such a great upgrade for this Pokemon, allowing you to just farm down certain Pokemon in the 2-shield scenario, like a Skarmory or whatever, especially with the Shadow bonus on top of it. I feel like this would be a really cool addition, and I would love to see Incinerate on the Arcanine after the recent buff. By the way, most of of the updates here are kind of based on the recent buffs for this season, which kind of makes sense because I already made a video like last season in general about like some Pokemon that kind of want to have a move update. So I just have like mainly Pokemon here with Incinerate or Bubble or Steel Wing, maybe later on. But here we're going to have Scald Alomomola. This Pokemon does not really have any play outside of the Love Cup, and this Pokemon has great bulk. It's a water type again. We have a lot of water types that are very decent, but not really a lot of pure water types. This Pokemon would learn the move Scald here, for example, and currently it has Hydro Pump and Blizzard, which is going to be very high energy, high damage moves, but like you kind of want to have some a little bit cheaper ones. I feel like Surf would be a little bit too broken for this Pokemon, but Scald seems just right. As you can see here, this Pokemon would gain an average rating of a little bit more than 70, but also gains a lot of decent wins and would make this Pokemon very balanced in the meta. It would make this Pokemon definitely something that is playable without making it being broken, and I feel like this is something that I kind of want to see here, like for especially bulky Pokemon, make them playable but don't make them broken, and then for something like an Arcanine, which you saw there as well, make them really strong because bulk is king for PvP a lot of times, so giving like squishier Pokemon a lot of play is, I feel like, kind of the way to go forward. Next Pokemon, we're going to have Forretress here. Forretress is actually a very interesting Pokemon because this Pokemon learns a lot of different moves already. It learns Earthquake, it learns Mirror Shot, it learns Bug Bite here currently. Bug Bite would of course be one of the easier ones to change for like a different move to be a little bit better, but I kind of want to make a little bit of more of a subtle change here because we already have an average rating of 454. So we're going to go for Drill Run over the Earthquake, and we're going to bump up basically to close to the 500 average rating. But if you take a look at what it actually beats, which you see on the right side, you will see that something like a Lickitung, like a Registeel, like a Cresselia, like a Carbink, going to be definitely going down here, especially also something like a Lantern. So this would be basically really neutral or like bad against like most of the anti-meta stuff, but really strong to just break the current core meta if you just give it Drill Run. It learns Drill Run in the main series game, so like all of the moves that they learn here, by the way, are moves that they can theoretically learn. So this would make a lot of sense, especially with like all the Lantern around. Would be a very cool Pokemon to have. Next Pokemon, we're going to add the Steel Wing onto the Scizor. Steel Wing does 1 more damage than Bullet Punch, the rest is the exact same, so you're not going to expect a big change with it. And as you can see here, it definitely gets a decent change with it. While it doesn't really gain more matchups, it's going to gain more average rating. It actually does get some more matchups in like other ways around. For example, like you beat the Azumarill straight in the 2-shit scenario without even having the Trailblaze, which is kind of cool. And yeah, you're just going to be a little bit better in like certain cups, and I feel like it's just going to make this Pokemon a little bit better. In general, I was just looking for Pokemon that learn Steel Wing. There's a different one, which you most likely know already, which will be even more impactful by this here, but of course, yeah, +1 damage basically on a Bullet Punch is kind of decent, so not the biggest change, but I feel like it's a cool change. Next Pokemon we already had for the Ultra League basically in the video last season, but this time around for the Great League again. I feel like giving Victreebel Vine Whip is not a bad idea. Yes, it's going to make it very, very strong. Don't get me wrong, it definitely does make it very, very strong. Maybe too strong. You have to tell me here. We're going to have also Sludge Bomb on this Pokemon, but yeah, Vine Whip would be definitely making this Pokemon very, very overpowered, allowing it to beat a lot of the current meta, but still you're going to get hard-walled by any kind of Steel-type Pokemon, so it's not going to be as crazy. You just don't have the fast move pressure anymore if you would have Vine Whip, which I feel like would make it a little bit more less toxic, which would be really cool, but it might be even a little bit too broken, I have to say, at the current time, just because, like, yeah, Sludge Bomb and Leaf Blade is just going to give it great coverage as well. Definitely would be top tier Pokemon, definitely would encourage more fire types or flying type Pokemon though as well. Next Pokemon, this is actually something I really would like to see is Zapdos. Zapdos only has like 2 fast moves currently in general, which is the Thunder Shock, which is Legacy, and I think the Charge Beam, which is pretty garbage. So here instead of the Thunder Shock, which is Legacy, we're going to add a Volt Switch, and this actually helps this Pokemon out quite a bit, which you're going to see here as well. Going to bump it up to a 535 average rating, while losing against the top 5 meta Pokemon here. We're going to see that it's going to be great against a lot of other of the Pokemon here, because basically with a Volt Switch you have a lot more damage coming from your fast move, putting them a lot more times into Drill Peck range, which is really, really good. So I would really like to see this change for this Pokemon, and we can move on to the final one for today. Final one going to be Empoleon. Empoleon would learn the move Steel Wing, and this would be basically really perfect. I already had this Pokemon in the last episode, but with the move Shadow Claw, which just did make sense at that point. But now where Steel Wing got buffed like crazy, this Pokemon would be literally the one that I would like to see the most getting the move Steel Wing, because this Pokemon would actually be really benefiting from this one. As you're going to see here, bumping up the average rating to 496, but you have a great typing, you have great coverage, and you're going to have also just in general, like a lot of great matchups in this current meta, being one of the hardest answers to Calming already. Then also Skarmory you're going to be able to beat. There are a lot more Pokemon that you can beat with this one here, with the Steel Wing. So I would see this as one of my favorite upgrades as well for hopefully the next season. But let me know in the comment section which Pokemon I missed. Like, which Pokemon would you like to give a certain move and it would be way better with this one? Let me know in the comment section. But this is going to be it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'm still sick, so if my voice sounds a little bit weird, that's most likely why. But yeah, this is going to be it. Bye bye.